2 lines is good, right?
There has been a new development.
I'm so bored of feeling like shit.
I would not recommend getting early pregnancy spotting on a bank holiday weekend. First trimester pregnancy supermarket haul.
I just want to sit here and eat my trifle and watch the tennis. Thank you very much.
Baby! Hello, welcome back to my channel and to another episode of the Hormone Diaries. Yes, I am pregnant. We've been doing IVF and last week I posted the vlog of the embryo transfer, which I left on a bit of a cliffhanger, but was it really a cliffhanger? Because you probably all guessed why that video was coming out. But the reason why I didn't officially include a pregnancy announcement at the end of that video and why I'm doing a little intro spiel here before we dive into the vlog is because obviously as I have been going through my own fertility journey, IVF, taken a long ass time to conceive and all of that. I know many of you are too, and I know that a pregnancy announcement can be received with all sorts of different emotions. And I just want to say you are not a bad person for whatever emotions come up for you, and you are totally welcome to skip this if it is not going to be good for you, if you are not in a good place to receive this, and that is totally fine. I don't think you're a bad person. You're not a bad person. It is fucking hard going through all of that and being surrounded by pregnancy announcements and babies from people in your real life and then like people that you parasocially follow online. I didn't want there to be a surprise pregnancy announcement at the end of an embryo transfer video that people might be watching because they want to learn more about like the IVF process. So that's why this is now its own separate video. You know what you're getting into. Hopefully everyone is emotionally prepared, and please do look after yourself in whatever way that you need. Okay, intro spiel over, and here is the Hormone Diaries episode of finding out that I'm pregnant, holy shit, finally, and the whole first trimester. Enjoy, and we'll chat again at the end. So, I'm pregnant. I did the test yesterday when I woke up in the morning and I was too scared to look at the results, so I just like left it upside down and I got back into bed and I said to Dan, I was like, can you go look at it? I can't. And then he came back into the bedroom and was like, 2 lines is good, right? 2 lines is good! Can you even see? Here's my beautiful 2 lines. Yes, I have kept it. This was the only pregnancy test that I had left in the flat, and then obviously just to be sure that it wasn't some kind of false positive-y fluke thing, I went out and bought more tests and I got a digital one as well, and there it is, pregnant. I can't believe it. Actually can't believe it. Rowan, our 4-year-old, was in bed with us and it was a bank holiday Monday, and so Dan was on morning duty. And I just lay in bed, like staring at this and crying, and then read my book. But yeah, contacted the clinic and they've booked us in for an early pregnancy scan in 2 weeks' time. I'm still taking my progesterone pessaries, Cyclogest. I've got to take those up to 11 weeks pregnancy. And now we just continue to play the waiting game and crossing fingers that all goes well, that this is a baby. Of course, I've already looked up what the due date would be. If all goes well, crossing everything, we're looking at early January 2027. I think I'm still in disbelief, like I actually can't believe it. My brain is also going a million miles an hour thinking about what we're going to do if/when the first trimester sickness fatigue hits me. So with my first pregnancy, I got super ill in my first trimester. I kind of couldn't work. Basically couldn't work for 2 months. I was fatigued, I was nauseous, I was throwing up, I couldn't move, I couldn't eat. And yes, I am voluntarily opting into that again because it was worth it. Obviously, that is going to be a bit harder to navigate if I do have all of those same symptoms again, because we have a child that we have to look after together. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess. Obviously, things could be different. I could have a much better time of it. I could have a much worse time of it. I don't really know how it could be worse, though, than how I felt the first time. When I've spoken to other people who have been pregnant and compared like my first trimester experience to others, the only people who seem to have worse stories than me were hospitalized and had to be on drips and had to be like on proper full-on anti-sickness medication. And so I'm crossing my fingers that it doesn't come to that, but we'll see. In the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy the next week or two, because that's how long I think I have until symptoms start. What a joke would it be if it was twins? I've done another test because I need to make sure. It's been a week and a half since I found out I was pregnant, and my scan is in 4 days, and this time is going so slowly, so slow. I'm also still counting down the days before I start like feeling fatigued and nausea. Yesterday I felt really tired and I was like, oh, is this it? Has it begun? Which kind of checks out in terms of how I was in my last pregnancy, but obviously it may not be the same. But I actually think that was just because I went to bed really late the night before, because I'm feeling fine today. I even rewatched my vlog from my first trimester last time I was pregnant, just to try and calculate when I might start getting symptoms if I have the same experience, which again is not guaranteed. And it could be any day now. But again, I'm not quite sure how the like timings of my pregnancy work, because last time it wasn't IVF, this time it is IVF, so is it slightly different? I don't know. Anyway, still pregnant, so that's good. I want to tell people so bad, mostly my parents and Rowan, but I don't know if Rowan will be able to keep his mouth shut if we say keep it a secret. I don't know. I was meant to be at the theatre tonight to see Mother Courage and her children at the Globe. #gifted. But I'm not there. I'm in my pajamas because today I was just feeling super tired all day. And then of course, come 5 o'clock, I'm suddenly like feeling normal again, but I'd already like officially cancelled because I was feeling ill, is the excuse. And so now I'm a bit like, oh, it's literally starting right now, the play. I could have been there. But to be honest, it's probably for the best, because I was just feeling shattered all day today. And then I think just going outside for the school run and pub in the sun gave me a little bit of energy back, but I think it wouldn't have done me any good going, but we will see. I'm still unsure if this tiredness is like pregnancy related, or again, I had another like late night last night, so I'm keeping an eye on it. It feels a bit of both, but we will see. I just have to get through this weekend and then it's scan on Monday. It's scan day and I'm feeling rough. We made it. We made it to around 6 weeks. It's an early pregnancy scan. I didn't have one of these in my last pregnancy because they don't do scans on the NHS until you are 12 weeks. So I don't really know what to expect. I don't know if they can date at this point or if it's just a case of like checking that yes, there is an embryo there that has continued to develop and is continuing to develop and it's in the right place and everything is fine. I have a feeling at this point you can like hear a heartbeat, or like it's not exactly a heartbeat but something. So fingers crossed. My symptoms are continuing to point in the direction that yes, I am indeed pregnant. Last week was very much a like good day, bad day. Like it was fine. I could work through the low energy, and also Dan has been ill, and so this weekend just gone with my low energy, I was kind of doing 90% of the parenting. But again, I was like, this is fine, like I can do this. This is just kind of like being tired, but it seems to be getting worse. Like today I'm worse than I was yesterday. A little bit of nausea started setting it in yesterday evening and this morning as well, but I am still eating, just like with this tiny little sprinkling of nausea just underneath it all. Have I mentioned my boobs are killing me? They just have not stopped hurting, and I don't remember at what point during my pregnancy last time they did stop hurting. They definitely did, but I can't remember when. But like, oh, it is agony taking a bra off in the evenings and trying to get a 4-year-old to be like physically gentle around this area. It's tricky. But I feel like, considering my symptoms and what I know from what happened last time, this is going to be a bit of a like big decision making week, because technically in 6 days time I'm meant to be going to Italy with Dan and Rowan to visit my granny, who is living out there for 3 months, living her best life in her 80s, learning Italian, incredible woman. If I deteriorate and I'm feeling any worse than this, I think we have to cancel. Like, that's going to be no fun for anybody. The only issue is that's half term, so Rowan won't be in school, but obviously Dan's already booked that week off work. He's already like booked off the annual leave, so he said that he could just like look after Rowan that whole week if I'm like done. And then I've got this week where I've got like work to do. I've got a few things that I'm like, these absolutely have to happen, but then there are some other things in my diary that I'm like, I can cancel those if I really have to. And then obviously we've got half term where I've booked in no work because we're meant to be on holiday, and that's going to be making decisions, checking in with like what my capacity is in terms of work going forwards. I think the main thing that I'm worried about is paying coaching clients and with the coaching training that I'm currently doing, because if I'm feeling any worse than I am now, I don't think that is very good for me to be delivering coaching, being paid for coaching, if I'm not at my best and not able to like give someone 100%. I've got 3 coaching clients this week, 2 this morning and 1 on Thursday afternoon. And so my plan is to do all of those and kind of use them as a bit of a test of like, I'm still feeling like capable now, even though I am tired. But if I get worse, then I think the only fair thing to do is to cancel those clients, which I don't feel good about, but I would feel worse about delivering coaching if I was feeling like an absolute wreck. So that's where I'm at. I want to be excited about this scan, but I'm also just like doing all of the mental arithmetic of all of my responsibilities and everything with getting progressively more and more ill. Anyway, let's go to this scan. Say hello to the pulsating tube. So all went well, all good, just 1 sac, 1 potential baby, no twins, so that's great news. And all looks good. They reckon I'm around 6 weeks, 5 days, which is exactly what I calculated in my head, which gives us a 6th of Jan due date. And the little thing is 8.2 millimeters long. So not even a centimeter yet, not even a centimeter, it's tiny. It doesn't have a head, doesn't have a heart, so even though the paperwork and they say like heartbeat, it doesn't have a heart. It's just like you can actually see it like pulsing, moving slightly like on the screen, and the doctor called it a pulsating tube. It's just like this. There's no head, there's no body, it's just so I quite like that. I've got a bunch of paperwork because I've got my discharge letter, which I need to take to my GP to get referred to the hospital, because I'm officially discharged now from the private clinic, and we're going to get ourselves back into the NHS hospital maternity unit system. Yeah, feels weird. I'm still trying not to get my hopes up because still only like 6-7 weeks pregnant, feeling tired, and have that like combination of like hunger and nausea, like needing to eat like little and often to keep both the hunger and the nausea at bay. I feel a bit sick, but I also want to eat constantly. Dan was there too at the scan. I just called my parents to tell them because I can't keep it in. And obviously they are overjoyed, but also still trying to keep the optimism controlled, if that's even possible. It's all very exciting. I'm still being very like cautiously optimistic with my heart, even though like at every stage during this entire IVF process we have had like good news. It's like loads of eggs, loads of embryos, like first embryo transfer worked, like, you know, every stage we've been really, really lucky. And so now I just continue to keep fingers crossed and get myself registered with my hospital and get things progressing in the admin and care route now too. Pardon me. Me and this pulsating tube need to go eat something. First trimester pregnancy supermarket haul. What we got? I have not stopped feeling nauseous all day and I have not stopped eating all day, but I have to eat like just little bits constantly. So I may have treated myself to some things such as Mr. Kipling's apple pies. Oh yes. Bananas. There's lots of fruit in here because we need fruit. I saw a TikTok from a mum the other day that said, after you had a child, did you just decide that the fruit in the house wasn't for you? And I've never felt more seen. And so I've been consciously eating the fruit in the house rather than thinking that's just my child's fruit. Like, no, it's my fruit too. We've got some cheese and onion hula hoops, eggs, we need eggs, strawberries because it's British strawberry season. And you know, I'm just gonna be buying strawberries every time I'm in the supermarket until the end of British strawberry season. Speaking of British food, it's also asparagus season, and asparagus is Dan's favourite vegetable, and so just anytime we're in the shops, we get some asparagus. Pears, Pringles. There's a lot of green stuff. Milk, and then some sour, sugary sweets, because this morning I suddenly noticed that fucking taste in my mouth. It's called a metallic taste. It's a first trimester pregnancy symptom. I don't know if that's what it is, but it's horrible. It's ever so slightly there for me now, but with my first pregnancy, like the fatigue and the nausea were my life, but the taste in my mouth was the bane of my life. And the only thing that would help it was like really sour sweets, and I would like scrub my tongue with the like sugar. So I have stocked up. We've got strawberry straws, cola straws, and rainbow belts. And that's the haul. And I'm so hungry still. I've eaten so much this morning already. What do I want to start with? This is good though, for now. We'll see how things develop. But I was so nauseous last time that I couldn't eat. And so I'm just enjoying the fact that even though I feel rotten, I'm like hungry. And food is helping. I would not recommend getting early pregnancy spotting on a bank holiday weekend right before you're about to go on holiday. I was out all day yesterday, and in the morning I had some like brown spotting, and I was looking up like what you're meant to do and whatnot, because I don't remember getting any spotting in my pregnancy with Rowan, and it recommended calling 111, and I managed to speak to a doctor who asked me lots of other questions about symptoms and things, to which my answer was no to all of them. And also because we have had an early pregnancy scan, like we know it's not an ectopic pregnancy, so that did helpfully like rule out some things. But he was like, yeah, I would recommend like trying to get a scan on Tuesday. And I was like, I'm gonna be in Italy then. But he did say, based on like our conversation, he was like, you should be fine to travel, like you should be fine to go away, and like keep an eye on it, ring back if you have any more concerns. And then what I might do is try and get another scan when we get back. So I'm kind of like partly reassured, but also like minorly freaking out a bit. But the spotting has stopped as well, so there is that. It literally lasted half a day. So fingers crossed all is well, and I can enjoy my holiday. It is one hell of a stressful morning. We're meant to be going on holiday today. I had some more spotting last night, and so I was like, I need to get this checked out. I need to have the reassurance. I called the fertility clinic. They didn't have a nurse available to talk at the time, but the receptionist was like, go to your nearest early pregnancy unit, which is at the hospital where I'm planning on hopefully having this baby. That was such a stressful morning that I couldn't finish filming that clip, but all is well, so let me fill you in. That morning I went to the early pregnancy unit at my hospital. I had to get referred there through A&E, but it was like pretty quick, like sending you up. And when I was there, I saw one of the nurses. I did a urine test. Apparently I've got a UTI. I have no symptoms of a UTI, but the doctor had to prescribe me antibiotics anyway. And they said that the earliest scan that they had available was 12 o'clock. I needed to be at the airport for 2:30. And I'd gone to the hospital that morning and left Dan to pack. I'd like gotten my stuff and I was like, Dan, you sort out the rest of the packing and Rowan and everything. I'm off to A&E. I initially said no to the appointment because I was like, we're going to miss our flight. We're not going to be able to go on holiday. And then the nurse from the fertility clinic that we did our IVF through called me back whilst I was waiting to get my prescription, which they said was going to like take an hour anyway, basically saying they don't have any like last minute availability for scans. This is a bank holiday Monday as well, bear in mind, but they wouldn't recommend traveling if I'm spotting without a scan for like reassurance. And so then I'm panicking. I run back to the early pregnancy unit and I'm like, is that 12 o'clock appointment still available? And they're like, no, sorry, it's now 12:20. I burst into tears. And then they're able to move some things around and they say, come back at 12. So I go back home and we finish packing and we are fully packed for holiday, and me, Dan and Rowan all go to the hospital. I get my scan done. I pick up my prescription of antibiotics and I get my scan done and all is well. Like absolutely fine. The little thing has grown a centimetre as well in the last week. So everything is just looking as it should. Heard the heartbeat, and the woman doing my scan was so lovely. She was like, go get that plane. And then we went on holiday and we just got back this afternoon, and it was definitely a lower key holiday because my energy and nausea levels are, suboptimal. And we just got back this afternoon and one of Dan's friends invited us round for dinner, but I cannot. I need a... So Dan's taken Rowan out for dinner and I am very, very grateful. And I am just like grazing and snacking on things whilst watching Amanda Land. But whilst I was away, I got a phone call from the hospital because of the like actual pregnancy referral that I did. And I now have a midwife appointment, like my first like booking appointment that you usually get around 8 weeks, which I am. And that's tomorrow morning, which is a Saturday. Not entirely sure why. And then hopefully we'll get the 12-week scan booked in too at some point. But oh my goodness, that was a relief. And the spotting has gone away and it was brown and very, very small amounts. But I'm so glad I got that scan done just for the reassurance, because I would have been stressing the entire time that we were away, which would have been no fun on top of me just being like generally tired and nauseous. That was a stressful morning, stressful day, but all was well. And we got the flight and we had our holiday.
There has been a new development that I was not expecting. But first, business as usual. The midwife appointment was fine, but really long. Had a blood test and all of my next appointments booked in. So my next midwife appointment, my 12-week scan, and then also my appointment with the consultant, because in my last pregnancy I was under consultative care just because of my stoma and past surgeries and stuff. So probably will be doing that again this time round. The other kind of business as usual development is that I'm feeling so much worse. I'm currently lying on an unmade bed because I just need to be lying down. My fatigue has gotten so much worse. I am just exhausted all the time. This is getting like closer to the fatigue levels that I had in my first pregnancy. I still don't think it's as bad because I am able to like function a little bit, but I'm like hanging on by a thread. And then also last time my nausea was so bad that I couldn't eat at all, whereas I am still eating. I'm eating less and more grazing, and the mouth taste is there, but like I remember last time it being like overwhelmingly horrendous, whereas this time it's just kind of like a mild annoyance. Oh god, I'm so fucked. I also don't know whether I'm just like more functioning because I have to be, because I have a 4-year-old. I'm so tired. Anyway, the new unexpected development that is actually like kind of crept up the ladder of worst symptoms is I have a toothache, but I actually am not sure if it is a toothache. It's like my bottom back molar down here, and it's been aching for the last couple of days. I have got a dentist appointment, but it's not for another like 4 or 5 days, so we'll see how I get on. I've got painkillers and I've got child Bonjela, but I'm gonna get some adult Bonjela. But I thought it was a toothache because I've just been eating absolute shit, and like there was a few days where I was having like 2 cans of Coke in a day, and then I was eating lots of sweets because the sweets and the sourness like helps with the mouth taste and everything. And I was like, oh my god, I've given myself a toothache from all of the sugar that I've been consuming. And then I like had a proper look at the back, and now I'm starting to think that actually at the ripe old age of 34, one of my wisdom teeth is finally coming through, because I never got my wisdom teeth, and I'm like, there's a tiny little tooth at the back, and I'm like, is that new? Have I seen you before? And fuck me, it's painful. I'm kind of hoping it's a wisdom tooth and not a toothache, because I think I would rather just like it be this extra tooth. And you know, I'm 34 now, like my mouth is pretty set. I feel like they'll probably just want to take it out. I would rather that than have a rotting tooth. But I also think that there is maybe some rotting situation going on as well, because when I look at the back, I can see a little bit of black, which is kind of gross, but I can't get to it. Like I can't, I've tried, I can't, I don't know what's happening. Is it a toothache? Is it a new tooth coming through? Either way, it feels like I'm teething. And solidarity to babies and toddlers. Oh, there's been a couple of tube strikes this week, which means Dan's been working from home, and he's working from home again today, which I love. He's been doing the school run. I probably won't leave the house again today. I watched all of Off Campus on Prime, and I loved it. And I need more shows like that. Obviously, Heated Rivalry should be next, but I don't have Now TV, so I think that one is just going to have to remain elusive to me for now. I have a coaching call that I have to do, but it's only 30 minutes, so I think I can do it. But I have started to notice a bit of a pattern with my energy, which is that I'm terrible in the mornings, and then from about 2 o'clock I feel a bit more like human for a few more hours, and then after 6 o'clock I'm dead again. But that's good information to have, because I'm going to see if I can move my other coaching clients to the afternoons. Anyway, being this tired also just like makes me feel like such a bad mum. Like Rowan doesn't know yet, and I'm just like not able to like just really be with him. Like it's because I'm growing another baby. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna close my eyes before this call.
I am 9 weeks, 5 days today, I think. And last night I had a really awful miscarriage dream. Not a fan of that. Woke up obviously like hand down there like to check if there was any blood. No, we're good. We're still good. I still have pregnancy symptoms. But fuck me, my brain, why? Today is also a Monday, and I'm looking at my week ahead, and do you know what? When I'm feeling shit, I really know how to rest. Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I have a very empty week this week. For the last like a week and a half, 2 weeks, I have felt like shit. I've just been like mostly lying down and watching TV, and it's like I have to save all of my energy reserves for being a functioning parent. So even though I'm definitely not feeling as bad as I was last time, I've scaled back my work to the same degree because I have this whole other job of being a parent that is my priority. And I have this whole other job now too as a coach that is like my second priority. And so I'm saving all of my energy for being in parent mode and for being in coaching mode for paying clients. I was supposed to have my client this morning who I cancelled last week because I was feeling like shit, and I was like, I'm ready, I'm feeling like good. But they're feeling ill. So we postponed it another week, and that is absolutely fine by me. But the other development is that it's just really come to a head that my 4-year-old does not like going to after school club. He likes the organised fun clubs where it's like an activity that's just like for an extra hour after school, but the kind of wraparound care after school club he's not a fan of, mostly because he won't eat the food there, and then obviously he's just like hungry and moody. Anyway, that's his stuff, and I don't like to see my child unhappy. But there've been a few more clubs that the nursery kids have been able to access this half term, and so stupidly I have taken Le Plunge and signed him up to those, and I'm just going to pick him up 4:30 instead of 5:30. So I have to do extra parenting, but it does mean I have a happier child in the afternoons and in the mornings. No, like, I don't want to go to after school club. So I'm like emotionally feeling really good about this decision. Physically, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but Dan is also planning on starting to work from home, maybe like 1 day a week, just to kind of lighten the load a bit from me. And then on the weekends, he's been doing like 90% of everything. So that's the other reason why I'm just like, I need to scale back my work during the week, because if I just like rest throughout the day as much as I possibly can, then I can do these school runs and I can do the shorter school day. The other update I have is that I've just been telling everyone I'm pregnant. I mean, not everyone. A lot of people in my life, a lot of my dear friends know that we've been doing IVF. And so anytime a friend has texted me being like, hey, how are you doing? How's it going? Like, how's the IVF stuff going? You don't have to talk about it. Like, my friends are so lovely and kind. And I just can't keep a secret. If somebody has directly asked me, even if they have said that I don't have to say anything to them, or even if just somebody's checking in to me like, how's it going? I'm like, well. So I've not like been consciously telling people, because there are some people that like we should tell at this point and we still haven't told. But I wasn't planning on telling any of these people. I was just like talking to them and then I was like, bleh! And then a few nursery mum friends who also know that we've been doing IVF have like loosely asked about it, and I've just been like, bleh! So does it make me nervous that so many people know and we haven't had our 12-week scan yet? A little bit. That might explain the dream. But I can't help myself. Like, I find it really difficult to keep a secret, especially when like talking directly to someone and they're like, how are you? What's new? What's going on? And I'm like, can't talk about the main thing in my life. Like, I literally have nothing else happening. But yeah, I need to find a film or a show that I'm going to watch today. I've got 2 more weeks until my scan.
I'm so bored, feeling like shit. I'm 11 weeks. Scan is in 4 days. I'm just tired all of the time, and it doesn't matter how much I rest, I'm still tired. That's the way with fatigue. I can't remember if I updated you about the dentist situation, but basically all is good. It is my wisdom tooth, and it kind of like caught a bit of my cheek as well, and I think last night it caught my cheek again because it's really sore, so I think I've like cut my cheek. They did say at my next like regular dentist appointment to ask about mouth guards, because when you are pregnant you get free dental care in the UK during your pregnancy, and then also for I think 12 months after. So they were like, might as well get the things that you need done now whilst it's free. And I was like, cheers. So seeing as this is like an issue again, the dentist also said that I should swill around hot salt water. Have I done that? No, I have not. But my throat's been really sore, and so I think I'm just gonna make myself some like hot water and lemon and honey, and then maybe I'll make a separate portion of hot salt water and brave that later. But when you're pregnant as well, like you get more blood flow, and so that affects your gums, and so like anything happening with your teeth and stuff, it can all just like, you know, be going on, hence the free dental care. I'm so tired. I'm basically doing nothing other than dropping Rowan off and picking him up. It was Dan's birthday yesterday, and thank God he's not that much of a birthday person, but I felt so bad that I just was like incapable of any kind of effort. Dan did buy himself for his birthday the new Nintendo Switch though. So today my plan is to play the new Mario Kart World until play kicks off at Queen's, which is a grass tennis tournament in London that happens during the grass season leading up to Wimbledon. And I've never watched Queen's before, but I love tennis, and when I'm laying on the sick sofa, just like having tennis on in the background is so good for me. I was watching a lot of like TV shows and films, but my brain has like run out of capacity for being able to concentrate on them. So tennis is perfect. I caught the end of the women's tournament, and then this week is the men's tournament. So I'm like fully in. I love it when I get into a tennis tournament because I'm like learning about all these tennis players that I had no idea who existed before, and I'm like, suddenly all knowledgeable about them. Also, I got so emotional yesterday because Ons Jabeur, who is one of my favourite tennis players, she's a Tunisian tennis player. She made the Wimbledon final and some other Grand Slam finals, but she did Wimbledon final like 2 years in a row, runner-up. It hurts me for her. But I saw her play in the quarterfinals at one Wimbledon that I went to. I just think she's brilliant. She's like the first African and Arab like woman tennis player to reach a Grand Slam final, like something like that. I'm not sure of the exact stat, but she's brilliant. Netflix did a docu-series about tennis, similar to Drive to Survive, about tennis. It got cancelled after 2 seasons. I'm sad about that. Called Breakpoint, and Ons was one of the players who was like part of it and interviewed for it. And one of the things that she talked about in it was how, as a female tennis player, how do you navigate wanting to become a mum and also your tennis career? And she kind of was clearly like, I don't know, it's hard because like tennis players have kids and then they like come back, and obviously like some tennis players have like smashed it after they've had kids, but not all. Anyway, I was watching the tennis and I was thinking about Ons Jabeur and I was like, what's she doing now? Because I've not seen her around, not seen her mentioned recently. And I looked it up and she like quit tennis last year. She had a baby and I'm so now I'm crying again. But yeah, I found her baby was born like 2 months ago. Good for her. I'm so happy for her. Me parasocially crying about this tennis player. Anyway, very happy for her. I'm also sleeping terribly. I wake up in the middle of the night to empty my stoma bag. Can I get back to sleep? No, I cannot. I am so grateful to past me before the Italy trip, because clearly like going to Italy was like a turning point. I've just like gotten worse and worse and just been like so shit since. But the week before Italy, I filmed 3 videos and I've got the second of those videos coming out today. Then I'm taking a week off and then the third of them comes out the week after. And then we should be good because we've just got Hormone Diaries videos. So somehow I've managed to like survive without having to intensely do filming. I've been doing my coaching training and I've been doing my coaching clients, and I've been able to muster the energy to focus for an hour, and I felt really good about that. I had one on Monday. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I did that. I felt really good about that session. And then obviously just like crashed and burned afterwards. And that's all I'm able to do. I've not posted on Instagram in almost 3 weeks, but social media is always like the lowest priority for me. But then it does like make me panic. This is probably the longest I've ever not posted on Instagram. I don't even know if it matters anymore if I come back with a pregnancy announcement. Oh, fuck me. Anyway, I'm going to play some Mario Kart and then watch tennis all day until it's time to pick up Rowan. I'm so bored of being tired. I need some energy. I'm meant to be going to a thing tomorrow and I probably shouldn't, but it's full of parents, so they'll get it. I don't know. It seems unwise. I did go out last Friday night. I took Dan out for his birthday because my mum was staying. We went to this place called Fair Game, which is kind of like loads of indoor fairgroundy games and stuff. It was super fun. But yeah, I crashed after that. So I can muster up the energy to do things. It's just like the knock-on effects and feeling shit like the entire time that I'm there. I'm also meant to be going to Wimbledon in a few weeks, and I'm like, please be feeling better by then. That's my like goal. Be feeling better to be able to go to Wimbledon, please. I am once again coming to you from the pregnancy sofa. Today I have a strawberry trifle. This first trimester has just been full of many comfort foods, strawberry trifle being one of them. And the thing that's extra special about strawberry trifle is that it's Dan's like least favourite food. He hates trifle, and so it's just all for me. I got some little pots this time, but last time I went to the shops and got trifle, I got like a big one. Granted, it did take me like 3 or 4 days to eat it, but I ate the whole thing. Today is scan day. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm also feeling like fairly hopeful because I have already had 2 scans where they've seen a fetus and detected a heartbeat.
So the odds are in our favour, but you know, it's just so hard getting your hopes up. Danny's working from home because we're going to head to the hospital together soon-ish. I've gone straight from watching all of Queen's tennis last week straight into Eastbourne this week. Dan and I actually went to the Eastbourne final last year. I won some tickets. It's very exciting. And it's also Wimbledon qualifying this week, and Wimbledon starts next week. I'm just living my best life, feeling ill, and there just being like constant tennis on the TV. What more could a girl want? Trifle. I also don't want to jinx it, but I'm feeling a little perkier today. I still feel rubbish and tired, but like something has switched in my brain. Like my work brain has kind of turned back on. Like I have the ability to like think a bit more. I've got a whole thing going on at the moment with like some sponsored videos and the fact that I'm going on holiday in July and like having to like redo the whole schedule and like see if I can fit things in and do all of that. And like my brain like thrives on that kind of problem solving, which sounds really weird, but I also like can feel the cogs turning, and I can feel, yeah, that little work spark in my brain like lighting up again, and I'm like, ooh, this is good. We'll see how long it lasts. Like I could even feel myself today, like knowing how little I've got on in my schedule at the moment, because I really just like stripped it bare. I'm kind of starting to feel a bit of work FOMO, like, oh, I want to be doing more, I should be doing more, which I also don't know is if that's just like the ableist part of my brain that's just always like, time isn't well spent unless you're being productive. I just want to sit here and eat my trifle and watch the tennis, thank you very much, brain. But there is also a little bit of me that's like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Like I feel like I can take on a little bit more, but I'm not gonna like overextend myself too quickly. Gotta ease back into things. I'm being cautiously optimistic about the scan, about feeling like I've got a little bit more brain energy. The thing is that it could all come crashing down because this week in the UK and a lot of Europe is heatwave week. So this is dating this video, but it's fine today. Today is like lovely and sunny and nice hot summer's day, bearable, beautiful. The next 3 days, it could get up to 40. I've never personally experienced that level of heat before because the last time that this happened in London, which was 4 years ago, I escaped to the seaside where my in-laws live, where it was only 30 degrees, and I took my 2-month-old and went to the seaside. But this time round, I do not have the privilege of routing me and Rowan and escaping to the sea. So I've got the next 3 days to deal with that whole heatwave situation, and then we'll see how I feel at the end of it. So we're not adding any more work to the plate right now because I think the next 3 days are just going to be like scan in a couple of hours. I'm reporting to you live from day one of the heatwave. I have battened down the hatches and actually it feels all right in here. In other news, baby! 12-week scan, all went fine, all looks good. The little tube bean actually resembles a baby somewhat now. We've got a head, some hands and feet, a nose, maybe a nose, I don't even know. Baby! We also told Rowan last night, and he seems excited, as excited as a 4-year-old can be. He picked out one of his books to read to the baby. He also decided that he doesn't need his stool anymore to get up to the toilet or to the sink, and so he was like, we can get rid of it now. And I was like, no, we're not getting rid of it. And he was like, oh, the baby can use it. So I'm glad he's already thinking ahead. But he was very sweet. He was just like, is it in there already? In here? I was like, yes. So there we go. I'm technically 12 weeks tomorrow. Makes my due date the beginning of Jan. And I just received an email from Rowan's school saying they're going to be closed tomorrow and Thursday. And then also Friday is an inset day. I'm fine. So wish us luck for the next few days. Still feeling tired and nauseous in first trimester pregnancy with a 4-year-old in a heat wave, and the schools are closed. Let's do it. The positive turn that I took yesterday has definitely continued into today, even though I still feel like shit. But we'll see how I'm feeling at the end of like 5 consecutive days in the heat, parenting at home. We'll see how I feel then. And then she rocks back and forth like, I chose this. Well, I didn't choose the heat wave. It's a baby. It's a little baby. And that brings us to today. We survived the heat wave, although with the way that climate change is going, there's gonna be many more to come, and I am not looking forward to it. It was definitely a rough few days, and being in the first trimester and having a 4-year-old whose nursery is closed, plus the heat wave, was just like not an excellent combo. Didn't like that, but we got through it. We're here now. So at the time of recording this, I am 13 weeks pregnant today, and by the time you're seeing this, I think I'll be 15 weeks pregnant, and so I am officially in the second trimester. I made it. I'm still feeling tired, but I have definitely turned a corner. That like starting to feel better that I kind of got a little glimpse of before the heat wave kicked in has kind of continued, although yesterday I was very tired and felt awful. So we're having good days and bad days, but it generally like does feel like we're going in a good direction. The fatigue is still the main thing, and then my nausea and like appetite is still doing its funny thing where I have to kind of be constantly grazing. And then there's a few other symptoms that I don't think I really documented in that vlog. My boobs are still killing me, and actually they have grown at least a size, maybe 2, and my 2 main bras that I wear, like I am spilling out of them. It is not a good look. So my plan is to get fitted for some nice pregnancy bras that are gonna fit me now through the rest of pregnancy, and I'll deal with the nursing bras thing later, but I just need something that's gonna like work with my boobs for the rest of this pregnancy, because what I've got going on right now is not working. And then the other thing is that I'm very gassy, like burping wise, but I don't know if that's just like what I'm eating and drinking rather than anything like pregnancy related. But I will be like lying down and resting, I'll be like horizontal on my side or something, and then I feel a bit nauseous and I feel like something's gonna come out, and I'm like, oh no, and then I just like put myself back up vertical, and it's like bleh. Everything comes out in burp form, not in vomit form. I haven't vomited. That is crazy to me. It's actually kind of crazy to me like how different my 2 first trimester experiences have been. And whilst a lot of the symptoms have been the same, they have just been significantly milder this time, which I cannot say how grateful I am for, but I have still been spending like most of my time lying on this sofa. Wimbledon is also currently on, so like I'm still resting. I'm still in rest mode, even though I'm like feeling better. I'm like kind of just want to be watching Wimbledon all day. Let's do a little bump check, shall we? Straight on, nothing to see. They say that second pregnancies show earlier than first pregnancies, and yes, that is true for me. However, my body before I got pregnant this time around, like I'm a mum of a 4-year-old, like my body is bigger than it was 5 years ago. And so like my body in a non-pregnant state now looks like when I was about 16 weeks pregnant with my first. So we're starting at a very different point. And for ages in this trimester, I've been looking at my body just being like, is that a bump or is that just like my normal like chubby belly? But now I'm like fairly sure that it is my chubby belly because it feels a lot firmer. So this is the situation we're dealing with. Again, like you can't tell, we've got quite a loose dress on, but if I do this, there's something there. It's definitely more than I had at like 13 weeks last time. But the other reason why I know that there's definitely a bump there is because my stoma, so I have an ileostomy, I poo into a bag, but my stoma has already started getting bigger. Like I've already started cutting the hole in my stoma bag, like just like a millimetre or 2 wider. So that's a sign, like things are definitely expanding. But hey, there we go, baby number 2. Don't know if I feel like it's actually real yet. I don't know. I think the bump needs to get bigger for it to feel real. I don't know. So I just want to say thank you so much for all of your support throughout this entire like trying to conceive journey, the IVF, everything. I told my patrons that I was pregnant last night on a live stream, and you guys are just the best. Honestly, thank you so much. My voice is cracking. There will be more Hormone Diaries episodes coming, so second trimester, third trimester. Depending on what happens, I might do another one that's about my experience with a stoma and being pregnant this time round. All that information might be included in the other trimester vlogs. I don't know, we'll see. Obviously it's not like as new this time round, but things could be different. I am due in early Jan, but I am leaning towards getting an elective C-section. I had a C-section last time, and I think they do them like a week before your due date. So it might be a like Betwixtmas baby. Obviously I'm thrilled, but like the timing of that does make me really anxious as someone who like has had abdominal surgery before and has been told that I'm like higher risk for a C-section in case there's like adhesions and all of this kind of stuff. Like I do not want to be giving birth on a bank holiday when the hospital is understaffed. And that's a conversation for the doctors and the midwives. There's still lots to do before then. We need to get our 2-bedroom flat and everything like practically ready for a newborn. Fuck. Yeah, I don't know why I still can't believe it. It still feels very like abstract and not real to me, even though I've just been like feeling like shit and laying on the sofa for weeks. I'm gonna stop myself rambling now and just, again, thank you so much for all of your like love and support over the years. And here's to the next chapter. Crazy. Okay, let's do it. Bye.